Have we got an episode this week? We have the essential building of a friendship bond between three pretty dang awesome characters. And from what I can see from the character slots, more to come. But today's episode was pretty wholesome. Almost felt slightly like a jealousy at first, but obviously clearly it didn't go to that completely. And also reminded me a little bit of the Nagatoro episode with the skiing in the last season. So, I mean, it had a lot of value into it. And then on top of it, of course, it being winter in the Midwest of the United States where I'm at, it felt definitely relatable and personal. But before we delve into more or less what I kind of think of the episode, let's talk about it first. So, this episode starts off with our girl Fuyuki and Shiki just kind of talking back and forth. Then we got to see the seating arrangement last episode. So, obviously, Fuyuki is sitting in front of him, and right next to him is this girl named Akino, which obviously this episode is going to take a lot of focus on Shiki and Akino. And Fuyuki's going to kind of take a backseat this episode, which I was kind of slightly disappointed by, but you know what? It happens, you can't get her every episode, I guess. So she's, talking about how excited she is and, just about pretty much the fact that he's never been skiing and, he's kind of nervous. And the fact that, in Tokyo, if they do get snow, it's not really prevalent because it doesn't stay around. So, she's kind of, Fuyuki's getting kind of cocky, talking about how good she is at skiing, and then he's gonna get jealous when he sees her shredding gnar. A bunch of other stupid terms, but it's really cute. She's got the wink face with the blow kissy and the long nails, and Fuyuki tries approaching Akino, obviously sitting next to our boy here, and pretty much right off the bat just gets kind of not necessarily a cold shoulder, but not a reply. And so we get to see kind of her face, and she's got this nice face with the purple eyes and the purple hair and the nails and everything. Just kind of a cute girl. And Fuyuki's, obviously telling Shiki that she's desperately wants to become friends with her. And granted, at this point, take it with a grain of salt, because they kind of discuss it in this episode a little bit, but it feels almost as if she's definitely more of a popular girl. And I think it's not necessarily she's popular. I think she might just be good looking and charismatic and not giving a F about what anybody says. But I guess to some people that could seem like a popular type of person. But she's talking with Shiki over here about how, she gets like that every time she tries to talk to her. But she is adorable, and, like the way she moves and her hair and her style. So Shiki's kind of checking her out a little bit because never really noticed, even though they kind of sit next to each other in class. So, he's looking at her, and, he's talking about how, she's, looks popular, but not at the same time, and how it just feels like this complete opposite look, but he's really taking it in. And, this is where, Fuyuki, I think, is getting a little jealous because, she's talking about how he's, totally spellbound by her looks, and she just ends up turning around, giving him a peace sign, and, saying we're almost there. So, the jealousy's a little bit there, but, I mean, at the same time, it's not like we're in episode 3. They haven't established a relationship quite yet, so she can't really be mad about anything, and it's not like he's actually checking her out. He's just, looking at her style. And so we get to the ski resort, and obviously, with Shiki and Akino being kind of like those outcasts that haven't gone skiing before, the teacher kind of puts them in a separate group, and they call it the beginner class. Because I think they divided it into 3 groups. And so these two are kind of just practicing, getting the ropes of it, while the other groups are doing their thing, and the teacher's kind of monitoring them as well, because obviously they're bigger groups, they're going down bigger hills and all that fun stuff. So they kind of practice for a while, and, Shiki's kind of mentally talking to himself about maybe this is his chance to actually talk to her and maybe smooth things over so that, Fuyuki can actually become friends with her. And at first, it definitely doesn't look like it's going to succeed, because she does this nice little thing where she tucks her hair behind her ear, which is really cute. But at the same time, he notices she's got an earbud in her ear, so obviously she doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I know that maneuver because I used to pull that one in high school quite often. And that was when we had cords. But I digress. We get to see them kind of moving around, and within like seconds, Akino falls down on her knees. So Shiki's going to go check on her. You know, he admits he wasn't focusing because he was trying to think mentally about other things, but he doesn't say that part out loud. And we get to see Fuyuki do this like awesome, like, I don't even know like skiing trick names, but it was like almost like a complete flip with the skis crossed. And you know, she runs up to Shiki and asks, you know, if he's seen that, how awesome it was. And of course he agrees about it. He's in awe about the whole thing. And before they can really even have a huge conversation, the teacher calls for her because, you know, he told them to stay off jumps even though she's really good at it, obviously because this isn't her first go around with skiing. So she goes back to her group, and you know, right off the bat, the first thing she really asks, you know, Akino asks Shiki is if him and Fuyuki are dating, and obviously he gets all flustered and turns red like he always does. Instant denial, which is, you know, obviously a good sign that, you know, maybe they're not dating, but at the same time he's definitely attracted to her. It's just like Senpai Nagatoro. It's like I said, this is pretty much just a more slightly ecchi, especially that first episode, but more of like a, I guess, realistic version without the bullying of Nagatoro. And I will probably make that comparison all season because Nagatoro was like a staple in this romantic subtext high school genre. So like I was saying, Akino pretty much, you know, says, you know, that those two are really friendly on the bus, and she's kind of like picking up on that, but you know, they press on, and she's kind of by herself again. And even Chiki, being like an ex-loner in Tokyo, is picking up on this like powerful loner vibes from Akino himself. So from there on, you know, they kind of just talk a little bit, and it kind of flashes to Fuyuki, which is kind of a thing this episode. We get like obviously these two having their moments, and then we get to see like a side little whatever the heck Fuyuki's up to. And at this point she's on top of a bigger expert hill, and you know, talking her skiing, her skier slang. And I can't tell if it doesn't look like a classmate. It looks somewhere like a child, because this person's like half her size, and it's not like she's huge. I mean, her bust is huge, but that's, you know, about it. And so she offers to help him get down the slope because, you know, how gnarly it is. And so she's guiding him down the hill, being the helpful person she is. And we flash back to the other two, and we get to see that good old Teach here is, you know, admitting pretty much the fact that he totally forgot about these two, and he wanted to check up on them. And so, you know, Shiki asks, you know, what time lunch is, because obviously that's something, you know, definitely important to ask, especially if you're just kind of these two loners without the rest of the group. And with the awkward silence and everything going on, it'd be a good little break between everything. And, you know, honestly, the teacher's honest, and he tells him, you know, obviously pretty much everybody's done with lunch right now, and that, you know, they could take their breaks now, which, you know, thanks a lot, Teach. Really useful. Thanks for forgetting about us. So, you know, they go to the bus to get their lunches, and well, at least Shiki does, and he gets his lunch, and he decides he's going to go eat in the cafeteria, even though he's by himself, because everybody else has already ate, because obviously Akino doesn't really want anybody around. He can pick up on that vibe. He's been kind of trying. It's not like he hasn't been trying. It's just, you know, some people want to talk. They just don't want to talk, you know. But he gets to the lunchroom, opens up his bento, and realizes he forgot his chopsticks in his bag. And this is where, like, the real comedy / bonding starts to kick in. So he gets to the bus to go grab his chopsticks. And we get to see our one lewd scene / ironically hilarious scene of Akino with her sweatshirt up, and you could see her in her brow with sweat just dripping down everywhere. And of course, right off the bat, they make awkward eye contact, and he's got his bag that he's just picked up with his thermos, and she's staring at him, and he's staring at her, and it's just the most awkward blush scene ever. And before we can cut right back to that scene, we get this awkward ski lift moment with Fuyuki with some other classmate. This one looks like a classmate, and she's like wondering exactly where he's at and what he's doing, right? And we get back to the bus scene, because whenever something like that happens, you obviously gotta, move to the other person in the little triangle of friendship love thing going on here. And he's mentally thinking to himself, like, oh my gosh, I really screwed up. She probably thought she was alone on the bus. She thought she was safe, and I came here and screwed that up. And he's, pretty much trying to backtrack and telling her, he won't tell anybody. And he didn't mean to look, which obviously he didn't. But, just that's how fate rolled the dice that day. And, he's getting ready to go leave and eat in the cafeteria by himself. Like, that was the plan originally to do. But she grabs his hand by the jacket coat, which is like it's so hard to describe because it's like kind of like flirting, because she doesn't like grab his hand, she just grabs the collar of his jacket, which obviously in a lot of anime that's kind of like a sign for flirting. But she is blushing, and you can tell she's really awkward and nervous about this whole situation. And so she tells him, let's talk about this and eat together, because obviously she's got something to say. And they're eating their bentos, and she looks like she's eating a nice, bowl of ramen, and he's eating his little bento. And he's noticing, that she clearly hasn't said anything, but she ends up chugging her drink, and she comes clean about everything. And she admits that she sweats a lot, like, and she's really embarrassed about it, especially being a teenage girl. Obviously, I don't have that perspective, but I could imagine that's something that's awkward, and you don't really want to delve into that or talk about that with people or let it show, because it's just one of those things, So it goes through, that's why she's been sitting out of gym, and by the time, she really wants to, like, change that aspect of herself, it's kind of getting too late, because she's already kind of labeled as the awkward loner. But she's just talking about how he caught her doing it, and she's just so embarrassed, and he wants to know exactly, which honestly I think I would too, know why she told him all of this, even though obviously he's new, he's the exchange student. And she's, and she comes clean to even saying, that's pretty much why it was easy for me to talk to you, because, I'm the one with no friends, and you're the lonely transfer student, which I guess makes sense, because he doesn't know anything, and they're both kind of loners, even though he does obviously have Fuyuki, but I digress. And while they're kind of chit-chatting, she gets this, like, notification noise that comes from her backpack, and he assumes it's her cell phone, and he tells her she can check it, and she goes to pick it up, and it's pretty much a Nintendo Switch. Obviously, for copyright purposes, it is not a Nintendo Switch. It's a Hokkaido Witch. And she pulls up this, like, magical girls, like, I can't tell if it's just like a PvP-esque 2D brawler or not, but it looks like it. And he admits, he doesn't really play video games, and she, like, calls him out for that shit hard, and she doesn't believe that he hasn't played it before, so she lets him play it, and he really sucks at it. And then she kind of delves around the fact that how she kind of just, like I said earlier, by the time, realizes that she can't really make up for it, and it's not necessarily she hasn't tried, it's just really hard to do, with that whole stigma in high school especially, but she just hides in video games because that's the one thing she's good at, and he tells her, pretty much the fact that he wants to game with her and, have her show him the ways, try to get to a friendship, obviously, knowing her, and just wants to build that. And obviously on the side, he's doing a little side quest so that, he can get in a little bit with Fuyuki to become friends with her as well. So she's blushing. She's blushing hard. Like, not just the red streaks on the face. We're talking a whole red line. Ears and everything. Especially with the hair around the ear. You could really tell with the ear. And so she says that she'll teach him. But she has one condition. And a little fetishy, but I digress. Maybe it's because, she's kind of been a loner, and she just wants to be acknowledged as somebody that has a better skill in things, in one aspect of life at least. And so she makes him call him, Shisho, which instantly made my mind go to Mashoko, but professor. And so, he's playing and he loses, and then he finally wins on one of them, and she clearly calls him, like, don't get too excited. It's like the easiest one in the whole game. So they get done with that, and they decide to go back skiing because it's almost the end of the day, and they kind of really haven't done much skiing. So he asks her right off the bat if she will go down the hill with him. The easiest hill there is, obviously. Nothing too difficult. So she agrees to the terms and conditions and goes on the elevator, the ski lift. And they're going up the ski lift, and Fuyuki sees those two together, and she doesn't believe it at first. But they're going up the lift, and, she asks why he just wants to do this because, the teacher said they didn't really have to, and they kind of want them to take it easy. And he admits that ever since he's moved to Hokkaido, he's been trying to push himself to do more things, and especially a big influence on that would be Fuyuki, and the fact that, she's been pushing him to do those kinds of things. And she says it again, and it's so true. It's obviously a thing, but she even says again that he obviously clearly has a thing for Fuyuki. And this time, even in his denial, she makes him admit that. And he doesn't say it out loud, but you can kind of tell he's submitted at this point. And they get to the top of the hill, and they're going to go down the hill. But this time, Shiki does ask her, or pretty much states that, if he makes it down this hill without falling, that she has to talk to Fuyuki. And so she agrees to that. And, it's actually extremely adorable. But she kind of, like, at the same time, says that, she probably is just doing it because she's popular. But that was earlier on. And now he's, like, reassuring her, that she isn't doing it for, attention or to be nice or anything. She just genuinely wants to talk to you as a friend because she thinks you have a lot in common, which they probably do. Especially she's going to be a main character. She's obviously going to be in the picture a decent amount now. And so they agree. And they go down the hill, and he kind of teaches her real quickly what the teacher told him before lunch about some simple skiing tricks about, maneuvering down and going side to side. And they're both doing it relatively well. And Shiki gets down the hill, and he's really happy with himself, the fact that he did it. But he comes to realize, especially after Akino is screaming it out loud, he forgot to teach her how to stop. So he's trying to yell across the hill, which obviously going down the ski hill, going fast, you probably can't hear anything, and even he knows this. But before he can really tell her, or she hears him, our girl herself, Fuyuki, shows up and tells her right off the bat, put your skis together and fall to your butt. And I'll even do it so you can see, it'll be fine. She comes to save the day. This savior ski girl saves the day. And so they both fall together. Everything's good. Shiki runs out, worrying like all hell, making sure everything's good. Of course, the teacher's yelling for them because they weren't supposed to do anything without a group at least, because obviously there's just the two of them. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you left them in this two-person group, man, and then disappeared and forgot to tell them about lunch. Like, what are they supposed to do? But I digress. So Shiki's telling her instantly he's gonna take the blame for it. This is his fault, and he runs to go tell the teacher, and he's instantly pleading sorrow. But at the same time, obviously, I feel like he feels obligated to tell the teacher because he wants, obviously, Fuyuki and Akino to have some alone time to talk a little bit to each other. And so they do, and she thanks Fuyuki personally and says her name right off a base. And obviously Fuyuki blushes and smiles, and she's so excited about this. And I don't know if she mentally realizes that this is kind of sort of Shiki's doing, and maybe that's exactly what Shiki's intention was for the whole trip. But that's up for you to decide. And so they're on the bus, and the one that she was on the ski lift with, Fuyuki, was talking to her, asking if she had fun. And she says, she had fun, and she made friends, and it was a good day. And to be specific, it was an Ame and Zing day. whatever that means. But at the same time, she's now jealous. This is where the jealousy finally kicks in, right? The fact that it looks like Fuyuki's by herself in this two-person seat. Maybe the other person was gone. Maybe she was by herself. Who knows? But she's talking about how, you know, these two are getting way too cozy. And, you know, they're both just passed out in their seats, but she's kind of got her head on his shoulder, kind of, sort of. And that's the end of the episode. Man, what an episode, honestly. I was really excited that we got to meet Akino because I was really looking forward to it last week. And this is like there's a lot of shows this season I look forward to every episode, but this one specifically makes me happy. And to know that we got to meet her, and it looks like just from the cover alone we get to meet Rina next, and I have no idea who she is, but I'm very excited for that. And oh, it's gonna be so good. Overall, I think this was just, you know, kind of your average friendship group building episode, so I give it like a solid like 6.5, 7 out of 10. Nothing over the top like the first two episodes were, especially the first one, but definitely a building so that we can get more into this with, you know, the 12 episodes, that first quarter of the season done. And the animation's holding up pretty damn well for what it is. Obviously nothing over the top. It's not an action shonen or a seinen even or anything like that. It's it's hitting the spot just right. Overall, highly recommend this, highly recommend this. I cannot say that again. Watch this show. You're gonna love it. And honestly, this season, if you love this one, I'm not covering it. I want to probably talk about it at the end of the season, maybe do a general review of the whole show, but like Tales of Wedding Rings is pretty dang good right now. And then also as well, another one that I've kind of sort of been enjoying, I actually have to watch the 3rd episode this evening, is The Foolish Angel Dances with the Devil. All really good shows, highly recommend them. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It means a lot to me. And if you're feeling real generous, hit that subscribe button. I upload weekly. Got a new Chain Soldier coming out this week. I'm going to do a double for the Witch and the Beast because last week life got busy. And then I have a Squid Tales and the Banks to upload. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for coming in, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.